Ellie, thank you for coming into, Body & Soul HQ today
Oh,
on
my
Extra
pleasure.
Healthy-ish. Nice to have you here in the flesh,
I know, it's great.
in person.
I know. It's bouncing off each other today. It's wonderful.
It's so much better than when we were on the screen last
I
time,
know.
wasn't it? Yeah, or isn't it?
I just feel like it's more personal, you know?
Yeah. Now, how do you stay extra healthy-ish, or how are you staying extra healthy-ish in your life today?
I am taking care of my three most important priorities: my physical health, social health, and my mental health. They're the things that I focus on to stay well within myself and well within my relationships, my career, and anything that I'm doing in life.
Has this become clearer as you've got older? Because I don't remember
Yes.
last time you being so clear about what your health and wellness looked like. I mean,
Yeah.
we talked about what you did and your fitness, but you seem very clear on these are my priorities.
Well, I know who I am now. I think that the struggles and the challenges in my life in my mid to late 20s really shaped who I am, and I know what I want in life. And I think that, it's not something that I wish on people, but I try and take something positive away from any shitty thing that happens to me in life. And it can either destroy you or empower you. And now I know who I am because I did the work. I know what I want. I know what I want in life. Sorry. I know what I want in life, and I know who I am and what I'm about. And I think being really clear on those things is going to direct you to where you want to be in life. So, taking care of those three things for me have always been really important. I think health and wellness was like, before I went through those struggles, it was like very like aesthetics. And then I figured out that I felt so much better. I had so much more energy. My skin was better. I was just healthier. My head was clearer. I didn't have brain fog. Like, I think this is something that so many people struggle with. Like, they live with pain. They live with it, whether it's bloating, brain fog, like whatever it is. Like, we are consuming so much in our lives, like not just food wise, social media, environmentally.
Living with the noise.
Exactly. Living with so much noise. And focusing on my mental health is like one of the most important things for me, because if that's not in check, then everything else crumbles.
Well, let's talk a bit about when your world crumbled. Well, let's go. Well, we're going to talk about your dad passing.
Yeah.
But before we talk about that, let's go back and tell us a bit about your dad and your relationship with him.
We were extremely close. I'm not going to lie, I had a really amazing childhood. It was wonderful. My dad was an immigrant. He came over here with nothing. And
Where did he come from?
He came from the UK, and his family come from the Caribbean islands. His dad lived over there for years and then found his lovely wife in the UK, and they had 18 kids.
18?
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. He's one of 18. I think that was like a 3-bedroom house in Clapham that they all grew up in.
Oh my God.
Bunk beds and,
Wow.
just like piled on top of each other.
And we complain about living in small houses here.
I know, right, girl? Like, that was next level. But yeah, he came over with nothing. He was very young, got married very young, had a family very young, worked really, really hard to provide for us. We went to private schools. We had a great childhood. Like, I had a horse growing up that I begged my parents for years, the poor things. But we were extremely close. I think my dad was probably like the most supportive when it came to my dreams and my ambition, and we just got along very, very well. And he always encouraged me to pursue what I wanted to do. And I moved to America when I was 23. There was a lot of sacrifice I took away from being with him and the people that I loved, and but he was always really supportive. He never kind of like held me back. I feel like a lot of parents would be like, no, don't go, but he was always like, I know that you need to go over there to achieve your goals and dreams. And my dad was always very protective of me, and I don't think I'd be the person that I am today without him. Like, your father is the first man that you ever love. Like, I think that especially when you have a really good relationship with your dad, the man that you end up with is kind of like, I know it sounds weird, but like,
I get it.
like,
has
how do you even
similar
explain?
trait. Like,
yeah,
well,
similar traits, like
often,
of
yeah.
like like they're protective. They like want the best for you. They're not controlling. Like, yeah, just like similar traits. But yeah, we were very, very close, and he was always like very attentive. Even when I lived in the States, he was the most attentive parent. And yeah, he was just like a beautiful person.
So tell us about his passing. What happened? Where were you? I mean,
The whole deal. We're diving in, girl.
we're diving in.
Okay, so the day before, just to give you some context, I'd gotten on the phone with him and he told me some things that were going on. I never thought he was ever capable of committing suicide. However, we've had a couple of friends who have been through the loss of a parent due to suicide, and we were like, okay, like this could happen. I was in America and I got this phone call.
Gosh, you must have felt powerless.
And my dad was, he was in tears on the phone. His whole like life was just like crumbling around him due to somebody else's actions, who is supposed to be his soulmate and his best friend and his partner in life. And yeah, I just felt helpless in the States. And I was like, okay, like I'm going to get my dad on a flight over here and he's going to come and be with me for a while. But I didn't get the chance because like literally the next morning, I was at my personal trainer studio in Beverly Hills and I got a call from I had about 14 missed calls from my sister. And I was like, that's really weird. Like it's 3:00 in the morning there in Australia at the moment. And then I eventually got on the phone to her and she was absolutely hysterical. Like I could not get words out. And I'm like, I was in the middle of the gym and I was like, oh my God, something has happened. And I walked out to the side door. My husband was there, thankfully. I ran out to the side door into a little corridor. And then I was like, just fucking tell me, like, what's happened? And she just goes, Dad's hung himself. And like, I don't particularly even remember what, like, Ross was in the corridor with me because he was like, what's happened? Like, what's going on? He could see on my face that I was like mortified. But apparently I just fell to my feet. Like, I don't remember. I blacked out. I fell to my feet and I was just like wailing. And he had to pick me up off the ground and pull me into my trainer's office, who at the time had like celebrities in his gym. And I'm like wailing. Like I just felt so embarrassed and just mortified.
Well, you're probably just so overwhelmed with so many different emotions at that point. I mean, it's that is the call that you never want to receive.
Yeah, and honestly, like, like the day before, I had told my mum never to speak to me ever again, and she got on the phone, and she goes, "Your dad's dead. You have to come home," and I just remember like jumping down the phone at her. And then Ross took the phone away from me and he was just like, this isn't the time, you know, like put Ellie's sister back on. And then, she just sat in the garage with him and waited while they waited to like come and cut him down because he was up so high.
So how did you process all this? Like, how did you, I mean, obviously at the time it was just all so overwhelming, but this happened in 2015, so you've had 9 years, but how did you process that in the first year or so after?
Well, firstly, like that day I had to get on a plane, a 14-hour flight back home to Australia to say goodbye to my dad. But in that time, I also walked away from my whole family. So I was grieving not only the loss of my dad, but my whole family, like unit that I was so used to having, you know? And it was just so dramatic. I'd never had anything so dramatic happen in my life. And I was just like, how do I even navigate this? But, and you know, I did really struggle for a hot minute there. And I had counseling. I had a counselor 3 times a week. I had couples counseling with Ross because I was like, I don't want you to become my parent. And he also needed to understand what I was going through and I needed to understand what he was going through. so we could be there for each other together, because he was like my dad's son as well. He was so close to my dad. So that was really important, like a very important factor in getting past it. I was also prescribed Xanax and anxiety medication the day of. Like, we went into a doctor's office and got this medication because I didn't want to go into shock. I didn't even know I couldn't even pack a suitcase.
No, I mean, understandable.
Yeah, I was literally just like a zombie. And I think I really struggled, and I really struggled to get out of when you're going through that, you don't want to be awake. And I think it's important to know that when somebody around you, very close to you, who commits suicide, the rate of someone who finds them, of them committing suicide, is like 90%. And then I think it goes down a little bit when it's like someone very close to you. But it's the rate of like people wanting to commit suicide after somebody around them, very close to them, does as well. But yeah, I just wanted to sleep away the pain. Like, I would just take Xanax and I would just be like, I just don't want to face what I'm feeling.
And even that point when you wake up, you know, for that first minute, and then you realise, you know, there's that couple of seconds.
Like, it never happens. Like, I'm waking up and my life is what it was. Yeah, I was very much in that, very much in that headspace for a while. So, yeah, that was, I've never actually spoken about this. But yeah, like, that was actually really hard.
You're going to make me cry. You know what, that is the toughest thing anyone has to go through.
Yeah.
Especially with one of your parents, especially when you least expect it to be happening. You're over there chasing your dreams as your dad wanted you to.
Yeah.
And then you find out that he's not there anymore.
Yeah.
And you haven't said
I don't want to ruin my makeup.
Sorry. I didn't want you to cry.
No, I had to, and I did have moments where I did stupid things, and when I have the right platform to talk about it, and the amount of time to, I will one day.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was really hard.
Yeah.
It was really, really challenging, and I think I never want anyone to ever go through that in their life, but you know, I've got to take something good from that. So I did the work to pull myself out of that, and that was really focusing on me and prioritizing me for a really long time. And that's why now I don't care what people think about me, because I'm those instances in life put a lot into perspective for you about what's really important, what matters, and what really fucking doesn't. Mm-hmm. And that's why I don't care what people think about me these days. And that's why I prioritize myself. I'm here to live for me and to do what makes me happy, and to love the people around me that deserve to have a place around me. Mm-hmm. Mental health is also cutting people out of your life that don't deserve a place there. You know, I think that's also important when you're going through that, is having good people around you, not people who are constantly dragging you down and making you feel shit or causing issues for you or being manipulative. Cut it all out, because you have to give yourself the chance to grieve properly. And there is no one way to grieve either. And you live with it. You learn to live with it. You actually never get past something like that, but it gets easier to live with it. Every day that goes past, you still have your moments. I still have my moments where I'm completely normal day, nothing out of the ordinary, and it will just hit me, and I'll be in my car crying. And I don't really I don't share that so much on social media, because I don't want to be that person that's recording themselves crying and being well, you know. But that is a big reality of someone who faces that loss, and it's such a shocking loss. Your life is one way, and literally within a moment it's on a completely different path. So I was okay, this can let me spiral, or I'll let it empower me. And I truly fully let it empower me. It literally pushed me to be as successful as I possibly could, have the best relationships around me that I possibly could, like not give a fuck about anything that doesn't matter. Like that
you almost need to, I mean, I was just reflecting on, nearly lost one of my sons at 5 weeks old from meningococcal B.
So
but not turning it on me. I just want to share how, and you need something like that to really. Well, that for me was similar to you. I mean, I suppose yours was far more.
No, but that's
horrific
like your
in many
child.
ways.
Like that's your child. It's still so horrific to go through anything like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was awful. But I think sometimes when you go through something like that, and like you did, you just become clearer on your boundaries and your priorities.
Totally.
And, that changed me in a sense.
Yeah.
And empowered me as well in many ways.
Yeah.
And it's so inspiring to hear how, the loss of your dad has empowered you and made you who you are today. And you're so much clearer on who you are, where you're headed and what you value.
Yeah. And I think the important thing for me was like, I went through how I was feeling. I went through the emotions. I acknowledged them, but I didn't live there. And I love Tony Robbins. Emotion creates emotion, right? That was like one thing that really stuck with me. And I'm like, I can sit here, I can feel sorry for myself, I can let this fucking absolutely destroy my life, but would my dad want that? Like, no. And this is the thing, people are like, does it make you angry that he did this? I'm like, no, I almost understand it. Like, I get it. There's only so far that you can push someone until they actually break, until they don't want to, until they cannot physically, emotionally cope. So I get it. I understand it. And I think that that's something that I really struggle with, because I was like, I wish I could go back and change it. I wish if I had my time over, what would I do to change it? And like, you go through those regrets and you go through those doubtful moments. But like, at the end of the day, you can only control the here and now, and like what you're doing now and what you're going to do in the future. So I used my dad to I guess push me, and now here I am, like a fully well-rounded human being because of it. Fuck, it was hard, but like.
And also you're here inspiring others who have gone through similar things or who might face similar things, and so in many ways that's a gift that he's given you. When I
first shared, like, people knew my dad died, they didn't know how or what happened. So when I first shared how it all happened and, a bit about my story, I had so many people actually reach out and say, today I woke up and like today was the day that I was actually going to end my life. Was scrolling on Instagram, saw your post, and it completely changed my view when I saw like what you were going through, how you handled things, how it impacted you. And I thought of my family, and now like I'm going to go and find help.
Goodness.
And trust me, it was a lot to, I was reading a lot of these messages, and it was a lot to take in. However, I did say to my husband, like, if this helps one person change their life.
Well, you've saved a life.
My God, my God, like, I wish someone would have done that for my dad. And I think when I was 25, mental health was not being discussed. Everything was like social media highlight reel, like nothing. No one wanted to talk about anything. So it's not like I had somebody to look up to and be like, oh, this is how they handle it. This is how they got through it. I was just winging it. But I had great support, great counsellor. I leaned on the good people around me. I focused on my physical health as well. Like, that was a really important thing for me.
So how today do you, if you do have a triggering moment, how do you pull yourself out of it and look after your mental health?
Well, you let yourself feel the emotions first. You just have to like go through the emotions. If you feel like you need to cry, fucking cry. Like, just do it. Like, do what you need to do, but don't live there. And for me, moving my body, eating good foods, taking my supplements, they're all important things for me to get out of a really shitty moment. And I did go through moments like after my dad died where I just stayed in bed all day. And I was like, I physically cannot get out of bed. But then I would make my husband make me. And like, but after 6 months, like his dad also got diagnosed with terminal cancer. And he had to fly back to Australia, and he was in Australia. So I was by myself. So I didn't have anyone like pulling me out of bed or, you know, and there's no time limit on grieving. Like, it's not like you're all good in 6 months. Like, I'll be fine. I wasn't. I really wasn't. I was really, like, really struggling. But yeah, I just had to force myself. I was like, okay, like, I feel like this. I acknowledge it. Like, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to call my counselor, sit down and have like a little catch up, and then I'm going to go to the gym, and then I'm going to eat healthy foods. I'm going to do all of the things that I know are really good for me. And now, like, for me, my mental health and like my physical health are those, like, and social health are those pillars that I'm like, okay, this makes me feel really good. Like, this gets me out of a really shitty, bad place and a bad feeling. And while I don't go through those moments all the time, they still hit me. And this is like almost a decade later.
Yeah.
I still have moments where I'm like, I'm not going to be hard on myself or have an expectation or a time limit on how I should be feeling something. Because like, you just live with it. It's not how grief works. You don't just go, oh, like, okay, I should be good in 6 months. I should be fine. I should, you know, go about my life normally. Like, I feel like that puts more pressure on you and makes you feel more stressed out about like living your life a certain way. Mm-hmm. But the people around you are so important in getting past all of that. If you have like a chaotic family and manipulative people and awful people around you, you're just going to stay there. You're going to stay in that place. So I was really lucky that I had my beautiful husband to help me get through that. And like a really good, like I cannot, like counseling changed my life. Before that, I'd never spoken to a counsellor. And I was like, you know, I really probably should have. But it took that for me to sit down with someone and be like, wow, this is so good for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that story. And I'm so sorry you had to go through that. But, you know, thank you for inspiring.
I'm not. Do you know what? I'm not. Like, life happens. Like, I can't control what other people do around me, but I can control how I respond to it.
Control your controllables.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Well, thank you, Ellie, for coming on Extra Healthy.
Thanks for having me.